Today I want to give you advice for one of my favorite types of photography, which is birth photography, which in a lot of ways is similar to wedding photography because it's a lot about just being there to capture the moments and being prepared. So I'm going to share a couple of my favorite tips on how to shoot a birth story, how to prepare for a birth story, and what lenses and equipment I use for a birth story.
You're the one I love.
The first tip is to be prepared. Similar to shooting a wedding, you're going to have backup equipment, backup memory cards, and backup batteries. Because you're shooting something that's so important and something that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you do not want to risk having your camera shut off or a battery die or anything like that. So I like to bring two camera bodies, my main one and my backup one, and at least one extra lens. So I prefer shooting on a Sigma 35 1.4 art lens, which works for Canon and it works for Nikon. You could also use a 24-70 or a 35 1.8. There are so many different lenses you can use, but you definitely want a wider angle lens so you can capture the full room, but also get close and get those little baby moments too. The 35mm lens is a perfect lens for that because you can move forward and get those close shots and move back and get the whole room and the whole environment. So the first tip is just to be prepared, have your bag packed. I have gotten so many birth story calls in the middle of the night. Most of the time, if it's in the middle of the night, it's right after I took 2 Benadryl, and the adrenaline just pumps me up and gets me going. But sleep with your camera, with your phone on, with the volume up, and give them your husband or your roommate as a backup. I have had a situation where someone has called my husband in the middle of the night. Make sure you tell the husband that they're going to get a call in the middle of the night because my husband was really mad that they kept calling him at 4 a.m. and he picked it up and, do you know it's 4 a.m. and it was my birth client. So be prepared. Make sure you have the phone number to you and to a backup person so that they can get a hold of you. And then always have your bag packed with all that gear and extra gear. The second tip is to be on your toes. So with birth, things can change really quickly. You could be sitting there for hours and hours while they're in labor, and then all of a sudden it's time to push and it's go time. You do not have time to adjust your settings, to put in memory cards, to go grab something from the car. Once it's go time, the baby is coming and you have to be ready. So I, at all times, have my exposure set correctly for whatever the bride or the mom is doing at that exact time. So if she's laboring and all the lights are off, my exposure is set to that. As soon as the lights turn on, I change my exposure even if I'm not shooting anything yet. So be on your toes. Things change so quickly with births. And then the next tip is to stay out of the way. So your job is to be a fly on the wall and to observe and capture these memories without getting in the doctor or nurse's way. It can be really hard because a lot of times there are nurses on both sides and the husband and the mom. So I usually wedge myself back behind the mom, behind the hospital bed chair where I'm completely out of the way and I can be up there at the top of the bed, and then I can capture when she's holding her baby, and I can just turn my camera in my body and lean over the bed instead of getting in the way of the nurses. It's more important that they can do their job than it is that you can do your job. You're there to capture everything, but they're there to make sure everything's okay and the baby comes healthily and is healthy and all those things. So make sure to not only stay out of the way, but position yourself in a way where you can still capture all those moments. My next tip is to follow the baby. So once the baby comes, your job is to follow the baby around. And so at first it'll be on the mom, and then it will be measured and weighed and all those different things on the other table. And then the dad will usually carry the baby back to the mom. Your job is not to pose at all. It's not to have them smile at you, any of those things. It's to follow the baby, and everything the baby's doing, you're doing too, and you're capturing that. And then once it's back with the mom and everybody is left and they have that hour of time with the baby, you're going to quickly get those family moments. You're going to have them smile at you, look at each other, look at the baby, mom with the baby, dad with the baby, anyone else in the room with the baby, and then you're going to leave and let them have those sweet, precious moments with their baby they waited 9 months to meet. So follow the baby and do it quickly and discreetly. It's not a session. This is not a session. It's documenting the experience, but they don't need to smile at you until the very end when you're getting that last family picture. This is all about telling the story. And so whatever's happening, if they're crying, if they're laughing, if they're scared, all those things, they hired you to capture. And hopefully in your contract, you've asked them if things get tough, if they want you to keep documenting or to stop documenting, so you know when things are getting hairy, if you should leave the room or stay. My next tip is details, details, details. You want to capture all the details of the room. What room number they're in, the whiteboard that says all the different details on it, the contraction monitor, and the little toes and the little bands on the toes and the little diaper. All these things that the mom is going to forget within a week because of how much changes in that week after becoming a mom or having another baby. All those details are so important. It's one of the most important and special things about looking back on my own birth stories, is having those details that just kind of slip your mind or you don't even notice in the moment because it's just so much going on. And my last tip is to make sure to have a quick turnaround time, at least on the photos of the baby, maybe the first time they're holding, or a picture of just the baby, because they really want to announce. I mean, they hired you to document this so they can announce it and share it with their family and friends. So make sure you can at least get a handful of photos back to the mom so they can announce the birth and share those photos with their family and friends. And in turn, it'll just make their experience better and also bring people back to you because they want that same experience. Those are my tips for shooting a birth. It's very fun. I'm going to share a couple of my favorite birth pictures really quick, and then if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to learn more about photography, business, or watch our journey.
You're always there when I call. You pick me up when I fall. I know everything will be alright. You hold my heart and you hold it tight, like only a mother can. Like only a mother can. You've always taken care of me. I know that one day you will.